on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome day today. Another green day for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. In fact, Bitcoin got all the way up to $11,786. We've had a mild pullback since then, but the biggest victory of all, the moment that we have been waiting for, Bitcoin finally closed out a beautiful green monthly candle for July, the second largest Bitcoin candle in Bitcoin's history as far as the price that we ended at. This is the highest candle since the all-time high of 2017. I can tell you right now with 100% certainty that the Bitcoin FOMO is in fact back. Now, before we get too excited, does this mean that we can't have another pullback? Well, there's two things I want to talk about. Number one, I want to talk about the altcoins because we do have one chart, one fractal particularly, that could actually signal that the altcoins might have one last major hurrah left in their bag. Some people are saying, well, that's it for the alt season. Now it's time for Bitcoin to pump. And while this is true, we could potentially have one more round for the altcoins, but I want to talk about specifically why we could be looking for an extremely volatile time for Bitcoin, specifically this chart right here. And I want to show you the last time that Bitcoin kind of had a similar move. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that the month of August is going to be a very violent, very volatile month. However, there is a chance that we could see an all-time high for Bitcoin by the end of this month. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do want to show you why that is possible today. Also, we need to talk about the fact that the US government has basically printed more money in the past month than we've basically seen in the last 2 centuries. And one bit of sort of potential bearish news, we do have Russia coming out. President Vladimir Putin, he has signed a bill that basically prohibits cryptocurrencies as a means of transaction. So that's what we're going to get into today. Also, we do have one particular thing I need to go over, and that is the fact that our friends at Altcoin Daily have had their channel terminated for apparently encouraging illegal activities. Now, this is ridiculous. These guys are one of the most legit channels in the space, and I retweeted this, and please support this. Retweet it if you can. Go over on Twitter. You can see right down here, I did do a tweet. If you guys aren't following me, it's at the CryptoZombie, and you can also watch the Joe Rogan thing that he said yesterday about he loves Bitcoin. And the final thing I want to say before we move on is YouTube has been a little bit crazy lately. There's lots of scam giveaways. There's lots of scammers out in general. So please be careful. Do not send any Bitcoin or Ethereum to any of these addresses. And also, guys, for my own sake, in case my channel accidentally gets terminated, I do have a backup channel. It's called CryptoZombie Undead. You can actually find it in my suggested channels list, but if you don't know where to look, I will drop a link below in the description, in the pinned comment. Please get subscribed to the CryptoZombie Undead channel. I'm not going to bother you with any, random videos, but in the event that for some reason my main channel does go down, then I will continue to post over on the CryptoZombie Undead channel, okay? So just check that out, get subscribed, and that's basically it for the for the preliminary. And now we're going to dive into the big chart, which is the Bitcoin monthly close above the $10,750 level. This is absolutely amazing. Not only have we smashed the major downtrend resistance of over 2.5 years, but we also now have the second highest candle monthly close in Bitcoin's history. Now, are we out of the waters? Well, in my personal, kind of somewhat biased opinion, yes. I do believe that the tides have changed for Bitcoin. I do believe that the trend is your friend, and I do believe Bitcoin is heading up, especially by the end of this year. And in just a little bit, I'm going to show you why we could potentially hit an all-time high this month. Crazy, but possible, okay? Now, having a look right here, you do notice that we have sort of gotten ahead. We haven't really had that pull back to the resistance. Now, we did have this little wick right here down to about $10,580. However, we really didn't get back into this blue zone right here. So I still wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a retracement back down into here, retest the previous resistance before heading back upwards. Now, that doesn't mean the price is crashing, okay? In fact, it might be a great opportunity to accumulate some more Bitcoin, but I do think that a healthy retracement would be nice. However, Crypto Michael over here, he says, yep, 11,200 broke and flipped support, 11,500, $11,700 test, and the CME gap closed. Now, you might be saying, CME gap closed? What is he talking about? We didn't fill the CME gap. Well, you might have forgot the CME futures gap that we had from way back here in August of 2019, and that was around $11,795. And if I zoom in right here, you'll actually see that we did in fact close that gap. Well, actually, give or take a few dollars. So does that mean that all the gaps have to get filled and that we still have to go down to the $9,600 level? Well, that is a possibility. However, you will notice that Bitcoin has sort of developed a nice uptrend right here. You can see multiple times we've retested this level. We tested it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, okay? So this is actually acting as some support. So even if Bitcoin does in fact come back down to these levels, you're still not really looking at the Bitcoin price falling below $11,000. However, let me just show you something. So having a look at the weekly chart right here. Now, even though we did have that monthly close above those significant levels, we still haven't had the weekly close. Now, granted, I do consider the monthly to be much more legitimate than the weekly. The monthly is the macro chart, right? That's the long-term chart. But short-term, we still have to get above that sort of $11,540 level. And that's basically right here. You could see that we did have some resistance back here, right back here. We also had some right here. And that is exactly where Bitcoin is right now. Now, I want to talk about the last time that we got above these levels. You could see right here, clearly, we broke above them, went to the 14K top of last year, but let's talk about what happened back during the bull run of 2017. Once we got back above these levels, it only took 2 more candles or 2 more weeks for us to go from the price that we're at today to $20,000. Now, if Bitcoin goes to $20,000 again, we are going to see the biggest retail FOMO ever. It's going to officially solidify the fact that Bitcoin is legit. Bitcoin is not dead. In fact, Bitcoin is still very much alive. And yeah, you're going to be getting a lot of phone calls from your friends, your family, people you haven't talked to since college, right, etc. And right here, you can see that that was essentially a 76% increase in 2 weeks up to the all-time high of 20K. Now, I do want to talk about something very similar, why I do think that we could have a very volatile August. Now, have a look back here, right when Bitcoin was looking to break its weekly resistance up here at around the $7,700 level for the first time ever, okay? We literally had Bitcoin, and this is just in 3 weeks, okay? We had Bitcoin start out at around 6,162. We pumped up 26%. Then we had a candle up almost 28% to 8 grand. And then from that point, from top to bottom, Bitcoin had a massive weekly dump of around 31%. And then the next week, it opened up and then it pumped all the way up 37%. So that was a crazy 3 weeks of Bitcoin. Can you imagine the madness of Bitcoin pumping 27%, dumping 37%, then pumping another 37%, and then basically going up for 1 month straight to the all-time high. And that is why I'm saying that even though if things get crazy this month, which I do think things are going to get very freaking crazy, I think there's going to be a lot of volatility this month, we still have a potential of surpassing the Bitcoin all-time high this month. Now, don't hold me to it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but history shows us that once Bitcoin gets that momentum, it's like a freight train, right? I mean, it just gets all that built up. And also, not to mention the fact that we have seen an increase in volume. So for people that say, oh, there's not enough volume, well, there's the volume for you guys. So that is something to mention. Now, let's talk about this secret altcoin chart. Well, it's not really a secret chart, but not a lot of people are talking about it right now. So this is a comparison by JJ Cycles. Now, the chart on the bottom is basically Bitcoin coming out of its 2015 bear market, moving into the beginning of 2016, right before the massive 2017 bull market. Now, in markets, we know that things don't necessarily play out exactly like they used to. They don't exactly well, we call them fractals, essentially. And fractals are patterns that look similar and they play out kind of like previous instances. Maybe not exactly, but, give or take a percentage, they're basically the same. And you could see that not only is silver, which is in the middle, but also altcoins on top, which is the total market cap, seems to be following the Bitcoin fractal. So this basically signals that there could be one more major alt cycle before the end of the season is over. Now, Nick Patel, he's actually the author of the best-selling book, An Altcoin Trader's Handbook. You can see right here, he says, wouldn't surprise me to see dominance now rise until Bitcoin all-time highs, pending a breakout, which we did do the breakout. And then once we break 20K, altcoins find another bottom, and then they rally concurrently, basically like we saw in March and June of 2017. And then also after the blow-off top, we had a second alt season as well. So would I sell my altcoins right now? Well, that's up to you. It's all risk management. The way that I have my portfolio right now is I always sit predominantly in Bitcoin. I always sit well above 60%, 70%. In fact, at one point, I was 100% in Bitcoin. I do have some altcoin exposure right now. And actually, I have bought some more altcoins recently within the past week. Not much, but I have adjusted my portfolio, but it still always weighs heavily towards the Bitcoin, Ethereum side. And the reason being is because once we do get that catastrophic blast off retail FOMO, they're not going to go into the altcoins. Altcoins are for the OGs. They're for guys like you and I that have been in the space for a while. But these new people coming into the space, they're scared to get into Bitcoin as is. They're not going to be throwing away their life savings, which you shouldn't do anyway, into altcoins, okay? The altcoins will have their cycle. The time to accumulate is when no one's paying attention. So some of these altcoins that have taken hits recently could be a good opportunity to load up. Not financial advice, but like I said, I always do sit prominently in Bitcoin. Now, talking about the number one altcoin is Ethereum, and we are noticing that Ethereum is also reaching some of its resistance again right here. When we had this crazy blow off top in June 26th of 2019, you can see Ethereum rallied up to about that $364 level, and currently right here we couldn't break above it, so we may actually need a little bit of a cool off as well. But if Bitcoin does continue to pump, then I think Ethereum will also continue with it as well. If Bitcoin does take a hit, I don't think you're going to see altcoins counter rally the Bitcoin dump. I think you're going to see everything dump together, and then we'll have to reevaluate the situation, right? But there has been massive transfers from whales. In fact, in just the past few days, we've had Bitcoin whales moving $231 million, actually in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. You could see 231 in Bitcoin and also 65,000 ETH moved in just the past few days. So something is definitely brewing, but let's talk about what's happening right now out there in the world. We have, in a letter to investors, we had the CEO of Pantera Capital, Dan Moorhead, basically noting, which is an interesting statistic, that the U.S. has printed a shocking amount of money to combat the pandemic-induced financial crisis. In fact, the United States printed more money in June than in the first 2 centuries after its founding. Last month, the U.S. budget deficit, $864 billion, was larger than the total debt incurred from the years 1776 through 1979. Moorhead cited the resulting inflation as the main reason one should get out of paper money and get into Bitcoin. According to the CEO, there is no need for inflation adjusted numbers with Bitcoin because there is no hyperinflation. And you can see from this article in Forbes, Bitcoin FOMO is in fact back. Bitcoin's price surge has triggered a retail trading boom. Excuse me, guys, losing my voice here. A retail trading boom with exchanges around the world reporting sky-high Bitcoin trading volume, and one cryptocurrency hedge fund chief executive saying that there is a fear of missing out right now that is attracting people who are potentially late to the party. And we do know that that's how it goes. People foam in, they buy the top, right? That's how they go. They never buy the bottom. You've had months to accumulate Bitcoin. Bitcoin went all the way down to $3,600. Nobody wanted to buy them. Nobody wanted to buy at 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, even when it went above 10,000. People said it was going to go back below to 7,000. Now, granted, there is always that possibility, but, you know, basically just sitting back and doing absolutely nothing and not having any exposure, well, that's when you really kick yourself in the end, right? But I do want to end on some, not to say that this is necessarily bearish news, but it is something to consider. We have Russian President Vladimir Putin. He did sign a bill that will prohibit cryptocurrencies as a means of payment in the country. Now, keep in mind that there was a previous bill potentially that would have been a lot worse. This one isn't as bad, but you can see right here, the development basically comes after Russian lawmakers proposed a version of the law that would make any business issuing or trading crypto illegal. The new bill, okay, appears to represent a more mild version of the previous bill. According to the IRA, although the bill defines cryptocurrency as a kind of property for tax purposes, they cannot be used to pay for goods or services in Russia. One step forward, two steps backwards, right? Sucks if you're over in Russia if that is the case. Yeah, I mean, they really should just get with the times here, but the bill also contains language, this is sort of the positive side of it, stating that the companies can issue digital securities via blockchain, provided that they receive approval from the Bank of Russia, the country's central bank. The law is set to go into effect January of 2021. So, having a look right here, guys, we are having a bit of resistance at the top right here. Look, at some point, we're going to have a pullback. We're going to have a retracement, but having a look at what Bitcoin has done in some of its previous cycles, you could see that we did from this point in 27 blast off to 20K in literally 2 weeks. So I do believe that this month is going to be extremely volatile. Be careful out there. Be safe. However, if Bitcoin does continue chugging along at the rate that it is going today, then yes, it would be possible to see a $20,000 Bitcoin by the end of this month. Be pretty crazy, right? We were talking about a potential $17,000 Bitcoin in October, right? So, you know, could happen. Anything could happen. It is cryptocurrency. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this for the most part every single day. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for subscribing. I do appreciate you sticking it out all the way to the end. Join the free Telegram group in the description if you guys are interested in trading Bitcoin with some leverage. Obviously, I use Bybit. That is my go-to for Bitcoin. I also like Femex for altcoins. And if you're looking to use Bitcoin to trade against things like stocks, commodities, etc., then I like Prime XBT. None of those are recommended for beginners. If you are a beginner, simply maybe just buying and hodling, not financial advice, might be your thing, but that's it for me. Thank you again for coming back to the channel. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.